I should have left the moment the clerk handed me the key. He looked down at it, then back at me. Like he'd made a mistake he didn't know how to fix. Room 12, he said. Then, after a pause, he added something I didn't understand until much later. If someone's already inside, do not let them know you can hear them. I laughed. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. Welcome to Mystery Inn, where every stay leaves something behind. I'd been driving for almost 9 hours that night. The highway was empty in that strange way that makes you feel like the world has gone still without telling you. My phone signal had disappeared nearly an hour earlier. The gas station I'd planned to stop at had been closed. The only thing I'd seen for miles was that motel sign glowing weakly through the dark, like it was running out of power. Mystery Inn. Half the letters were dead. The parking lot was mostly empty. Just 3 cars, all spaced far apart, as if none of the drivers wanted to be too close to each other. I remember sitting in my car for a few seconds before getting out. Not because I felt fear exactly, more because everything about the place felt delayed. Like I hadn't arrived there. Like it had arrived around me. The office was lit by a single yellow lamp behind the desk. The rest of the room was dark, not dim. Dark. The clerk was older, maybe in his 60s, with tired eyes and the kind of face that looked permanently tense, as if he'd spent years expecting bad news and eventually stopped reacting to it. He didn't greet me, didn't ask where I was coming from, didn't even ask how long I was staying. He just opened the register, wrote something down, and reached for a key hanging on the wall behind him. But when he looked at the number attached to it, his hand stopped. "That room's still available?" he muttered. I thought he was talking to himself. Then he placed the key on the counter. 12. I asked if everything was okay. He stared at me for a moment and said, "You can stay somewhere else if you'd rather." I should have taken that offer, but I was exhausted, irritated, and too tired to think clearly. So I told him room 12 was fine. That was when he leaned forward and gave me the warning. "If someone's already inside," he said quietly, "do not let them know you can hear them." I just stood there waiting for him to smile, waiting for some sign that this was small town humor. weird motel gimmick, but his face didn't change. He slid the key toward me, and whatever you do, he said, don't answer if it speaks first. Room 12 was at the far end of the building, last door on the left. The hallway lights buzzed overhead, flickering just enough to make the shadows shift every few seconds. My footsteps sounded too loud against the concrete. As I got closer, I noticed the door to room 12 was slightly open, not wide enough to see inside, just barely, and lunged. I stopped walking. For a second, I honestly considered turning around and going back to the office. But then I told myself the obvious thing. The cleaning staff probably forgot to shut it properly. So I pushed the door open with 2 fingers and stepped inside. The room looked normal. Too normal. The bed was made. The curtains were closed. The television was off. A lamp in the corner cast a warm light across the carpet, but there were small details that didn't fit. A towel, in fact, a wet towel, hanging over the bathroom door. A half-full glass of water on the bedside table. A suitcase standing upright near the wall. All of this, I must confess, none was mine. I remember standing perfectly still in the middle of the room, staring at that suitcase, waiting for it to make sense. Then I heard it. Breathing, not mine. Slow, shallow, coming from somewhere near the curtain. Every part of me wanted to say hello, to announce myself, to make it clear there'd been some mistake, but the clerk's warning came back immediately. Do not let them know you can hear them. So I did the only obvious thing I could think of. I pretended I hadn't noticed anything. I set my back down by the bed, took off my jacket, sat on the mattress, all while that breathing continued from the far side of the room, slow, controlled, too deliberate to belong to someone asleep. Then the bathroom light turned on. It didn't, I didn't see anyone move. I didn't hear footsteps. The light just came on, soft and yellow, spilling across the floor. The breathing suddenly stopped, and for a few seconds, the room was completely silent. Then I heard the sound of fabric shifting. Someone standing up. Not quickly, not angrily, just slowly. Like they had all the time in the world. I kept my eyes on the television. It was off, but the black screen reflected part of the room behind me. At first, I couldn't make out much, just the edge of the bed, the lamp, the slice of darkness near the curtains. Then something moved in the reflection. A shape, tall, still, standing where the curtains were. I couldn't see a face, only an outline darker than the room around it. It remained there for so long that I started wondering if it had been there the whole time. I'd only just noticed. Then it tilted its head, and I heard a voice behind me. You're not supposed to be in here. The voice was low, calm, not threatening. That somehow made it worse. I said nothing. My throat had gone dry anyway, but even if it hadn't, I don't think I would have answered. The clerk's second warning replayed in my head. Don't answer if it speaks first. The silence stretched. Then the voice spoke again. Closer this time. Can you hear me? I kept staring at the black television screen. In the reflection, the shape had moved forward. It was now standing at the foot of the bed. I wanted to run, but the door was behind it. I wanted to look directly at it, but something in me knew that if I did, the situation would become real in a way it hadn't yet. So I sat there, pretending to be half asleep, pretending I hadn't heard the voice, while every nerve in my body screamed at me to move. Then the mattress dipped just slightly, like someone had placed one knee on the bed beside me. I don't know how long I stayed frozen after that. Seconds, maybe. It felt like minutes. Then, from the office side of the motel, a phone started ringing. Loud, repetitive, sharp enough to slice through the noise, to slice through the silence. The pressure on the mattress lifted immediately. In the reflection, a figure turned toward the door. The phone kept ringing. Once, twice, 3 times. And then the lamp in my room went out. I moved before I could think. I grabbed my bag, rushed for the door and pulled it open so hard it slammed against the outside wall. I didn't look back. I just ran down the hallway towards the office, expecting to hear footsteps behind me at any second. But all I heard was the phone still ringing. When I reached the office, the clerk was already standing there. He looked at me once and knew. "It spoke to you," he said. I nodded. He closed his eyes for a second, as if that confirmed something he'd hoped wasn't true. I asked him who was in room 12. He didn't answer right away. He just looked past me toward the dark row of rooms. Then he said very quietly, "Nobody checks into 12 twice." I told him there was a suitcase in there, a towel, a glass of water, signs that someone was living in the room. He nodded. "There always are," he said. I left before sunrise. I didn't ask for a refund. No. I didn't stop at the next town either. I just drove until daylight felt normal again. For a while, I convinced myself exhaustion had made me imagine it, that the voice had come from outside, that the reflection in the TV had been a trick of the light. But about an hour into the drive, I reached for my jacket on the passenger seat and found a key in the pocket, an old brass motel key with a number 12 on it. Not the key the clerk had handed me. This one was colder, heavier, and tied to it was a paper tag with 4 words written in faded ink. "Occupied. Please knock first."